everybody. It's been a while, but I'm glad to be back with another video. Today we have a little personal note. Then I want to talk about a couple records, a couple disappointments, real disappointments, and then some really cool stuff that I've picked up recently. Anyhow, thank you all for being here. It's been a while. Had some medical issues, nothing horrible, but I developed a little bit of a neurological situation that has to do with movement and muscle control. But that's getting under control. It's going to be good and ongoing. I hope to do more videos, a lot more frequently, and it's just good to be back to the point where I can. It's a lot easier to talk now, a lot easier to move, but it's all good. People have a lot more issues than me, so I'm not going to complain. But thanks again for being here. If you like what you see, hit the like button, subscribe, all to do that. We're almost at 1,000 people. I'm not sure, it's about 950 or 960. Love to hit that 1,000 mark just for laughs. I don't do this for income. I just do it to kind of share some stories. Predominantly, I don't talk about new recordings. I leave that to some of the great people here in the so-called vinyl community who do a great job on the new stuff that's out. And what have you. So I more or less leave that to them. But today I am going to talk about two new things. And I guess, I talk about things that are new when I'm maybe disappointed about them. And I'd love your feedback on these two things. So let's talk about the mobile fidelities first. So I ordered a copy of 7 Steps to Heaven, like I need another one, a number of months ago, and it finally showed up yesterday. It's the new Mofi mobile fidelity edition in 33 RPM on what they're calling Mofi Super Vinyl, our finest vinyl formula. And it's really quiet. I mean, the vinyl is as quiet as I've ever heard. It's really, really quiet. So I give them credit for that. But when I put this record on, and I'm very familiar with this record, as are most of you, I know. It's been out 60-something years and been recorded, been issued in many different ways. After I talk about the Mofi, I'll tell you what my favorite version of this is, and I have quite a few. I don't know what they did to this, but when I put it on, I immediately heard a lot of reverb. A very different sounding record than any of the other issues that I have, and I have quite a few. One of my favorite records. If I remember right, this was Miles's first recording with the new quintet with Herbie Hancock and Ron Carter and Tony Williams. And it's a great record. So I put on the first side, which is Basin Street Blues, and it opens up with a piano, Herbie and Miles on playing with harmony. And I hear this echo, and I felt like I was in a big hall, and it was very different than what I had heard, and I really didn't like it. And I don't know, I guess maybe I'm too much of a traditionalist, but why can't they just leave things alone? The sound that came out of that studio in New York, the Columbia studio, I believe it was on West 50th Street, it was a great studio, a great sound, and some of the other issues, reissues, are just amazing. Why they had to mix this and remaster it with this reverb, I have no idea. I'm sure some of you have this record. I just got mine delivered yesterday. So, it's a $60 record. It's numbered. I have number 650 or something. So it's a, it's an early record off the press. So, and it sounds great. I mean, it's vinyl, it's quiet, and it's everything Mobile Fidelity says. But I have to tell you, if anybody from Mobile Fidelity's watches, please, when you do some more of these, I hope you do, please don't try to rethink this recording. This is a classic recording. To me, it's right up there with Kinda Blue and Love Supreme and all those great icons. Leave it alone, please. It was done right. And I'll tell you who did it right. Who did it right, as they do most everything, or everything, is QRP and Acoustic Sounds. And this is not a plug. I don't get anything free from these guys. They do amazing stuff, as I know you all know. This is the version that came out a few years ago. It was done on 43 and 33 and 45 RPM. And it is, I'll tell you what, I listened to that after this because I needed to listen to this record correctly after having to listen to, honestly, I didn't even listen to the whole Mofi record. I got 2 minutes into Basin Street Blues and said, I can't listen to this. And I put this one on. And it is amazing. And you know what? Even the OG is great if you have a good copy, or some of the other reissues are good. The original record didn't have that reverb that this Mofi has. Please, if you're going to do more, again, I hope you do, just leave them alone. They were done right. No need to rethink the wheel here. So I got that out of my system, and I said, okay, I got a record that I've been waiting for a long time. It's a tone poet, and it's Easterly Winds, Jack Wilson. Jack Wilson is a very underrated pianist. Originally from Chicago, spent some time in Indiana. I know he was down at Indiana University where I went to school, but probably 15 years before I got there. Let's see, what else about Jack Wilson? He made his name on the West Coast, predominantly working with Gerald Wilson and some TV things and studio things and some small groups and backing up some great singers for many years. Very underrated pianist, Jack Wilson. He has a number of records out, a few on Blue Note, a few on some West Coast labels. We can talk about one in a minute. But this was one of my favorite records when I was a kid. Let's see, late 60s. I remember this record came out. Great band, Garnett Brown, Lee Morgan, young Garnett Brown, young Jackie McLean, Bob Cranshaw, of course, Jack on piano, and Smilin' Billy Higgins on drums. What a band. Great tunes. Side 2 is really great. Side 1 opens up with kind of like a Watermelon Man, kind of that funk thing that Blue Note was doing. They had that hit with Watermelon Man and maybe one or two others, and they figured they would try to make some money. I can't blame them for that, but at least they only did it on one tune. I don't really care for it. Lee Morgan does play well on it. But the rest of the record, especially side 2, is just amazing. The title tune, Easterly Winds, it's a great tune. Nirvana, my favorite tune on the record. It's a ballad, kind of a ballad, a second cut on side 2. And then there's Frank's tune, Frank Strozier, the alto player, wrote this too. Great tune. Great playing. But I have to tell you, I was very disappointed in this record. Not because of the musicianship, but when I put it on, the left channel sounded like there was a pillow in front of it. The recording, I don't know if it was done in the recording. Rudy Van Gelder did it, so I gotta believe it was done correctly. Maybe the tape that they took it off wasn't so good, but musically, this is so good that I think you have to have it, and I enjoyed it, but the sound was not what the other, and I've got a bunch of them back here, tone poets. What Joe Harley did with these tone poets, just phenomenal. Kevin Gray did the remastering on this. He's another guy that doesn't do anything bad. It does it all great. So I'd be I'd be wondering if anybody has bought this and what they what they got out of it. I reversed my speakers. I did all sorts of things to make sure there's nothing wrong with my system. And there's nothing wrong with the system. So, you know, I don't know. Musically, great. Sound-wise, not what Tone Poets used to be. I was pretty disappointed in this, too, because I was looking forward to it for so long. Jack Wilson's such a great player. I pulled out one of my favorite records that he's done. This is on Trend. It's a West Coast label. Done with two different trios. John Hurd's playing bass on one, and then some musicians that I don't know that much of. Joey Barron on drums, don't know anything about Joey. Alan Jackson on bass, yeah, good player, is on a few cuts. And Clarence Johnston on drums. Don't know anything about the drummers, but they sound good, they play good. On Trend Records, really great recordings. Trend Records, Discovery Records, really did some great recordings. They did the records with the Bob's what's his last name? I'll think of it. His big band, Butcham, they're really good. Bob Florence. But this is recorded well. Margot's theme with Jack Wilson. Check Jack Wilson out if you can stream some things before you buy him. Very, very, very underrated pianist. Just a great player, tasty player. Margot's theme, his wife is Margot. They wrote a tune called Margot's theme. There's some standards on here. Every tune on here is really, really a great tune. And his playing is superb. You ought to be able to find this very, very inexpensively. I think I picked this up for about $10. Picked up a lot of records locally at a place I should go to more, called Wild Honey Records in Knoxville. The store in Knoxville has some great jazz. The store in Oak Ridge, not so much, but there's a lot of other stuff in there that's really good. And the owner, Brian, great guy. Really, his records are clean, prices are fair, everything's good. So I was really happy picking this record up. I had another copy of it that I actually was not good at all, and I got rid of. This is very clean, and I think it was by $10. Very, very, very good record. Jack Wilson, check him out. Very underrated pianist. Speaking of underrated pianists, this is another find when I went up there on Steeplechase Records. Those of you who know Steeplechase know they really haven't made too many bad records. Their mastering and their engineering is really, really good. This record is a little bit different from the other Kenny Drews that I have on Steeplechase, in that there's two horn players on here. It's recorded in New York. The history behind this, Thad Jones is on this record, and it was done in the mid to late 70s. After the Mellows Thad Jones band spent some time in Europe, Thad went in and worked at a club with Kenny Drew for a couple of weeks. And I guess they hit it off pretty well. And I have to tell you, Thad Jones, you know, he's known for his work with the Basie Band and the Mellows Thad Jones Band, and as an arranger, wrote A Child Is Born, great tune. But his playing, his early playing is really, really good. And I have to tell you, his playing on this record is as good as I've ever heard him. Again, recorded, I think it's 77. Yep. In New York, but remastered and produced into a record in Europe, in Denmark, for Steeplechase. But Thad just plays so good on this record. And it was about a year before he got in an altercation and got punched in the mouth, believe it or not, and lost his chops. He never really played that great again, unfortunately, because of that. It's about a year before that. I think that happened in 78 or 79. But anyway, Jimmy Cobb on drums, George Mraz on bass, Kenny Drew on piano. I mean, could you get any better than that? No. The other player on this is Bob Berg. Bob, B-E-R-G, Bob Berg is my age. Was born in Long Island, and was a New York guy. Died, unfortunately, too young. about 20, 25 years ago in a car wreck on some icy roads on Long Island. But his playing, he's a lot like Coltrane in a way, but with an edge. He's got kind of an edgy sound, and I really love it. And he'll experiment with lines and ideas to look for new things. I really love his playing. I loved what he did with Horace Silverback. He was on those Silver and Brass, Silver and Woods, a couple of those Horace Silver records, and with some other people. But I really always enjoyed his playing immensely. Too bad he left us at too young an age. But Thad Jones, Bob Berg, Kenny Drew, George Mraz, Jimmy Cobb. What a quintet. Light Flight on Steeplechase. It's SCS 1077 on Steeplechase Records, recorded in 1977. Kenny Drew, another, like Jack Wilson, another underrated pianist. Great player. Two other records I listened to quite a bit in the last week or two. I just wanted to share with you. I talked about that Miles Davis record. I'm listening to less and less Miles these days. I don't know why. No disrespect to Miles. Great player, but, I'm listening, like I heard that Thad Jones play on that album. I really enjoyed it. And there's some other great players, trumpet players around that I've been really kind of listening to, especially Harry Edison. I've got to do a video on Harry. What a great player. Had a style, like you knew when Harry played, it was Harry, but you hear a lot of Dizzy and you hear a lot of Fats but he had such a soulful way of playing. I think he was on like 19 Frank Sinatra records in a row, playing muted stuff in the background. Great work with the Basie band. I need to do a Harry Edison video. And Harry's on both of these records. I was driving back to San Francisco Airport with a dear friend who played this in his car. And I said, man, I have that record. And when I got home, I pulled it out and listened to it. And it's a great sounding record. I have a reissue in mono. This is in stereo. I originally had it in mono, but it was in bad shape. And I didn't know I had this. It's kind of a hard record to find. And it's called Ben Webster and Sweet Edison. It's called Wanting to Do One Together. And great tunes. I don't think there are any. There might be one. I think Embraceable You's on here, if I remember right. But it's on Columbia. If you can find it, pick this up. The sonics are great. And man, does Harry Edison play well. And of course, Webster. I don't have to say anything about his playing. But to get these two geniuses together on this record, it's just, what a gift. And I heard it in my buddy Doug's car coming back, and I said I have to dig this out when I get home, and it is superb. Webster's one of the few people who played both with Ellington and Basie successfully, and it's just great playing. Hank Jones is on this, George DeVivier on this. Talk about a trio. And this Clarence Johnson is on drums. So I guess it's the same guy. On the Jack Wilson record, they spell his name with a T, as in Johnston. On here, it's Clarence Johnson. So I guess Clarence has been around. Good player. But Hank Jones and George DeVivier, man. Hank Jones knew just what to play and when to play it. What a group. But pick this up or stream it if you can. It's well worth the time. And lastly, it's another Harry Edison. I think I might have talked about this in a previous video on Pablo. Great sonics, great sounding record. Great band. On here you got John Hurd and the great Roger Kellaway is on piano on this. Jimmy Smith, the drummer, not the organist, is on this. But Zoot plays amazing, and Harry plays amazing. I listened to this the other night. just friends. 3 or 4 tunes aside, so they stretch out quite a bit. Sonics on these Pablos are second to none. I think this might have been a Val Valentine recorded in, Val Valentine recorded in 78 in Hollywood at the RCA studios, I believe. Just amazing. Harry Edison, man, I've got to do a thing with him, a video for him. So many players, so little time. Anyhow, I have a funny thing to tell you about, but I'm going to save that for the next video. Anyhow, thank you all for being here. I will be back a lot more frequently. I have a new camera now, a lot easier to set up. I think it's going to work good. I'm going to take this and put it in the computer and get it up on YouTube and see what it looks like. But I think it'll be a lot more functional, a lot more easy for me to use. I'm going to be feeling better. I am feeling better. It was a tough couple months, I'm not going to lie to you. But again, thanks for being here. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them. I'd love to hit that 1,000 subscribers. So, if you can and you enjoy what you see, let me know. Any ideas you'd like me to talk about? I'd love to do it. I've got too much to listen to here. Plenty to talk about. Anyhow, we'll talk to you soon. And thank you for watching. Bye-bye.